All right, here we are, a couple days removed from the loss to Cal. Hugh Freeze has spoken to the media in his weekly press conference, and we are going to break it down. He's Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. Thanks for watching Village Vice. Brand new episode. It's brought to you by mybookie.ag. When you use promo code NEXTROUND, they're going to double your initial deposit. So take advantage of that. Kick off the football season with our friends, title sponsor, presenting sponsor of Village Vice, mybookie.ag. All right, Zach, you feeling better about anything 48 hours later?
No.
I
don't think so. However, Hugh Freeze's comments, I do think it will help the fan base because he didn't double down and defend Payton Thorne or anything like that. He said, we're going to look at the quarterback situation, which I think is what the fan base wants to hear.
Yeah.
Now, should he care about all that? No, he shouldn't. But if it's the truth and he's really looking at the quarterback, because he would not name Payton the starter on Saturday. And he had multiple opportunities to do so. And anytime there's been any sort of rumor or inkling of quarterback controversy, he has shut it down. Mm-hmm. And he didn't do that on Monday, which I do think is interesting. And it could be telling, Brad.
Yeah, the closest thing he got to that, and he's never given us a reason in press conferences to try to decode or what did he really mean by that, or he just kind of is candid completely. And he was asked point blank, I think it was Jay Tate who asked him the question, will you consider making a change to your starting quarterback? And he gave a very long, thoughtful answer where he said, essentially, the thing about making the decision like that is you see him every single practice be the best guy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean he executes the offense the way it's supposed to be. It means incompetent, compared to the other quarterbacks, he's the best at running the offense.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to make the decision if you've watched in 5 days or 4 days, if you've watched one thing, to make a decision that is contrary to that. Now, look, I get the argument, Zach. If let's say you cook in your house all week, you cook Monday through Saturday. Okay, you cook every meal. You're the best cook in your house. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know how Leah cooks.
It's probably true.
Okay. Wow. Just roll it right out there. All right. So if you're the better cook in your house Monday through Saturday, but on Sunday after church, your whole family comes over and you do the cooking, and it's just not something about the pressure of cooking for the whole family and in-laws or whatever. At some point, you and your wife are going to have the discussion, hey, babe, maybe I ought to give it a shot this Sunday, and let's just see. You're great during the week, but when the pressure's on, it's just different.
Yeah. Or to continue the analogy, when it's just us, when it's just you, your spouse, and the kiddos, it's fine. But when it's other people and we're entertaining, it's not as good. It's like the pressure is certainly on yourself. I'm with you. And we've heard this before with quarterbacks at Auburn, where it's like, well, in practice, they're awesome. But it's like, can you win a championship with the guy that you currently have? Like, the argument for Payton Thorne over every other quarterback on the roster was experience and a higher floor.
Yep.
If that's the highest version of the floor, I have a hard time buying it. 5 turnovers against Cal. And also just the body language of Thorne, it really didn't sit well with me. And the ESPN2 broadcast of zooming in on his face anytime something went wrong, where he looked over the sideline, it was just looked lost. Just looked lost, Brad, and confused and frustrated. It's like, you can't do that, man. You can't. This is your 4th year as a starter in Power 5/Power 4 football. You can't do that. You got to be a leader. You're a captain on this team. You represented Auburn at media days. It's like, you don't look like a leader out there either. It's just not a good look, Brad. There's no aspect of this that is redeeming right now.
And it's not all Payton, and it's really not it's not honest to pin it all. I don't care if that's what we do in sports, all right? I don't care if that's what we do. It's dishonest to pin every bit of it on Payton. It is not dishonest to pin the appropriate amount on him, though.
I think the appropriate amount's a lot. I think it's a lot of it.
Well, and that's kind of to the press conference today. I was very interested to hear after looking at the film, because you knew you were going to get this from the head coach.
Yes.
After looking at the film.
He was ready. Yeah.
Yeah. at looking at the film, you know, two of them were his fault, two of them weren't, or three were and one wasn't, or whatever. You knew you were going to kind of get the breakdown.
Yeah.
And it sounded like there were multiple interceptions where you had guys running open and you just didn't make the throw, either didn't make it quick enough, early enough, or didn't make the right read or whatever.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's fair just to take, if you just want to take what the head coach says, that you just have, at this point, you have to get more. It does not get easier. Now, I'll also say this clearly from looking across college football through 2 weeks. Week 1 doesn't have to have anything to do with week 2. Week 2 doesn't have to have anything to do with week 3. Okay. South Carolina, Kentucky, Notre Dame. There are lots of other examples where one week had nothing to do with the next week, good and bad. But it doesn't. It's not like Arkansas. Yeah, Cal's another good example. It's not like Arkansas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Missouri, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Alabama are easier than what you faced against Cal.
Yeah, I mean, I think some are easier than what you face against Cal, but not all of them. Not all of them, sure. I want to go back to pinning blame, like the appropriate amount of blame on certain people. Like Payton obviously deserved a ton of it. I'm not as hard on the O-line as a lot of people are, and you and I haven't really had a long conversation since the game, so I don't know where you sit with the offensive line.
Yeah.
But Jarquez Hunter, the lack of blame Jarquez Hunter has gotten from Saturday is fascinating to me. And I think I know why. And I've got a good guess as to why he hasn't gotten a lot of it, and I'm semi-okay with it. But there's a few things from Hunter on Saturday. It was just like, what is going on? Like, this guy's supposed to be the best back in the SEC, and he's just doing a lot of things that he doesn't typically do unless he's playing Cal. So I don't know if Cal just has his number somehow, or if there's something mentally going on when he plays Cal or what. But that's it's not all on Payton, but I think a lot of it is.
Yeah, I think there's an appropriate measure that Payton would probably say, I'm and he's going to be on the next round tomorrow. I'm very curious about that.
That's what you asked for as a quarterback. Like, you asked for it.
Right. Yeah. And it's not being negative to say that. It's the head coach has talked about it. He will talk about it. You have to, man, if you can't embrace that as a starting quarterback, you're totally in the wrong sport. Or
position.
We do we do as fans look for one reason. If we can channel all of our anger or frustration or disappointment to one person, then it's just easier that way. Maybe it's a little easier to swallow than to say, I didn't think the tackles were particularly good. And one of the reasons why is you had a backup. You had a backup right tackle. And you had a redshirt freshman in another spot and a guy who just – look, Hugh Freeze said Percy Lewis played his best game. All right, I'll default to the head coach on that. I trust his opinion more than mine in watching the whole game and every snap that Percy played.
Well, I think the guy calling plays, or at least over the play calling, probably a more accurate way to word that, is going to look at pass protection different than we are.
Yeah.
Because he wants the ball out quicker.
Yeah.
Like if Percy Lewis gives up a quarterback hit 4 seconds after the play, like it's probably not on him.
Yeah, that's true.
It looks like it from, us watching the game as casuals or whatever, but the ball should have been out.
Yeah.
And like the coaching staff, they're not going to chart that against the offensive linemen. If it's an RPO situation, the ball's if it's a 3-step drop or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think it's fair, but I think the running backs need to get into their spot faster.
I agree with you there. Yep.
They and tight ends too. Like there are a couple of plays where you had very clear opportunities for blocks.
Sure.
That weren't made, where I think Payton's running both of the ones that come to mind immediately as two different tight ends. And if the tight end makes the block, there's at least 20 more yards on the play. Just massive, massive plays. And
Rivaldo downfield was one. And then like Luke Deal on the Jarquez fumble. Like he took a lot of responsibility for missing that block. So
There's
not great.
No,
Not
when
great.
they were pinned around the goal line too, Payton kept it, and Brandon Frazier had a open block that could have sprung about another 15 or 20 yards on the play. So there is enough blame to go around, and it's okay to say, man, everybody almost across the board just has to be better as a unit, because it is a unit out there trying to get stuff done.
Yeah. Yep. It's there's a lot to fix. Yeah. No question.
All right, Barner Supply Company. You know what? You need to fix your wardrobe or your hat game, or you just need some stickers for your computers or your notebooks. There's so much stuff at barnersupply.com, and it is all Barner made for Barners. Just embrace it, man. Work, hard work. These are great Auburn people, and the work they do is with a phenomenal cause in mind. Read more about them. Search the website, barnersupply.com, and for this month, when you use our promo code Village Vice, here's what you do. You go to checkout, you buy yourself a hat. Wonderful looking hats.
Treat yourself.
Like that one right there.
Classic.
All right, put that in your cart. Put a koozie in your cart. Like that one right there.
Koozie.
Use our promo code Village Vice, no spaces.
Koozie.
And the koozie will be free. So check it out, barnersupply.com.
Brad, to me, the most alarming thing that Freeze said Monday was talking about how they're going to have like a smaller package that they take into game days.
Yeah.
For the next few weeks.
And he said it specifically talking about making sure Payton is comfortable with it. Which
he's a fourth-year starter. You don't do that for fourth-year starters.
It's the closest thing he did to all but say he's going to start Saturday too. Like if you're adjusting, if you're compiling your game plan for the week, then you got a good idea about who you're going to start that week.
So do you believe in him or do you not?
Yeah.
Because you just talked about how good he is in practice. And it's like, okay, like, does that matter or does it not? Because if it matters and he can run all the stuff in practice, run it in the game. Oh, but it's not translating. But we're still going to roll with him. Like, it's just so weird. I mean, Freeze is in a tough spot. I'm not saying one decision versus the other is the right thing. Like, you can make cases for both. And he's going to know more about the entire situation than anybody. But it's just, it's a tricky spot to be in.
I think it's so smart to keep that perspective as much as it's sort of is tough to squeeze through that door sometimes mentally. You have to do that. He said, and the point that I guess the backing that he used, he used John Wooden's example of honoring practice. And if practice is really going to be the indicator of who's going to play, and then you go do something different on game day, well, then what am I doing in practice? What's the point of my practice?
What's the point? No, I'm with you.
It's just not simple, but I get it. I get the ones who I get somebody thinking it's simple, but it's just not. So it's tough. It stinks. You're in a really tough spot, and you're just, you're hoping that just like week 1 to week 2 spelled a huge, like week 1 for South Carolina had to be this massive wake-up call. You get pushed to the very edge by Old Dominion. They look like a totally different team against Kentucky in week 2.
Right.
And that's the hope. That's the hope, and because now your margin for error is down to almost nothing over the next few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, especially against Arkansas in 2 weeks. I don't think there's any question about that. It's just, that's what makes this weekend tricky too, is like, I don't know. Like, what can we see on Saturday where it makes us feel any better?
No turnovers. Hold on to the ball.
But it's going to be met with the caveat of, well, it's New Mexico.
If you want it to be. Yeah, if you want it to be.
I think the roller coaster that you've already put Auburn fans on, I think people are going to be I think we just got to wait 2 weeks, which stinks, which totally stinks.
Maybe it. Yeah, I think it depends on how much of the roller coaster you want to be responsible for. I said this yesterday. I was totally guilty of overreacting to the win. Totally guilty of
Me too.
We had people in the comments on our last show before the game that said, "I think you're overreacting. I still need to see a little more."
They were right.
And man, I reacted all the way. I overreacted all the way up till kickoff. Really, till about the midpoint of the first quarter, actually, because that first drive looked sweet.
Yeah, the first drive looked like an extension of the first game. It's like, oh, the offense is still cooking. Here we go. And then obviously we all know what happened after that.
So I would say this: if you were one of the ones advising us not to overreact after week 1,
sure, yeah,
for consistency's sake, then you will not overreact after week 2.
Oh, interesting.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you were one of the ones go, oh, I'm not sold. I'm not. Let's don't overreact after good. Well, then let's don't overreact after bad. Like,
well, I think it depends what your goals are. Like if your goal was to go 8-4 this year, which is what most, I would say most Auburn fans said. Maybe some said 9-3, some said 7-5, but 8-4 seemed to be that sweet spot. I mean, the path to going 8-4 now seems very difficult. Very, very difficult.
Well, you have to beat Oklahoma now. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, you got to beat Arkansas first, but yeah, sure.
Well, yes.
Obviously.
I'm talking about, all right, yes, you're right. Just for clarification, though, at the beginning of the year, like you're probably going to start 4-0, so Oklahoma becomes a swing game. Now you don't have that swing game. You do. You still got to beat New Mexico. You're not good enough yet to take New Mexico for granted.
I think you are, but I get it. I think New Mexico is closer to Alabama A&M than they are Cal.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. So, but yes, you got to beat New Mexico, you got to beat Arkansas, and now you have to beat Oklahoma because otherwise you're 3-2 going into Georgia.
Yeah.
And if you don't win that game, now you're 3-3 with Missouri and Kentucky on the road coming up.
Oh,
after the bye week. It does. It changes the whole. Now, you win your next
in that situation, you're like, does Auburn go to a bowl game?
Right.
I mean, that totally changes the conversation.
8-4 is still absolutely on the table, provided you correct mistakes and get there and you beat Oklahoma beat Houston by 3. Houston lost to UNLV.
Yeah, these toss-up games that we said going into the year, like I think Arkansas is tougher than I originally thought. Cal obviously was. I don't think Oklahoma is as tough as we thought at the start of the year. I don't think Kentucky on the road is going to be as tough as we thought going into the season.
Yeah.
I'm saying the general we.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own opinion about these teams. And then A&M, I don't know. Like the Notre Dame, like losing to Notre Dame, the Notre Dame losing to NIU. I'm not a huge like transitive wins in college football guy. We've talked about that before, but it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great if you're Texas A&M. So, and then Vandy, I think, is tougher. I think Vandy looks better than I expected them to. So we'll see.
I would agree. By the way, Oklahoma beat Houston by 4. Houston had 2 turnovers. Oklahoma had 1. You give Oklahoma 5 turnovers in that game, and Houston wins. Especially 5 drives of 2 plays or less. You can't get your receiver rotation like you want it to be. You can't get any rhythm whatsoever if you have 5 drives that are 2 plays or less in a ball game. So I say all that to say, to kind of come back around too.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
8-4 isn't off the table. You just now have to take games that were like Oklahoma was a toss-up game. It's not a toss-up game anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be pretty close to perfect now if you want to do that.
That's it.
Which I still think this team has the talent to do. It's just you got to find answers at quarterback, or at least production at the quarterback position. So,
hey Zach, that row back looks
so
good on you.
You like it?
Really, like you're already a handsome devil, but that takes you to a new level.
Yeah, and let me tell you a secret.
Please do.
I didn't pay full price for it.
No?
I used our promo code Vice20 at rowback.com, and I got this and several other things for 20% off. I want to tell you something. This is a true story. Took my kiddos to Tiger Walk for the first time ever this past weekend. Walked up to the rail. My oldest was on my shoulder so she could watch all the players. She was most excited to see the cheerleaders, which tracks.
It's about right. Yeah.
The guy in front of me who was like against the rail, we were like the second row back. He was wearing the Jordan Hare row back shirt.
He was in the second row back and he was wearing row back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But it looked great. It looked great. It took everything I had not to start a conversation with him, but I'm like, I'm here with my kids. I'm here with my kids. They've got this awesome Auburn gear at rowback.com, as well as just everything. They've got these awesome, I think they call them performance hoodies. They're very, very comfortable. Check them out, as well as these quarter zips, collared shirts, hats, shorts, whatever you need. Rowback has you covered. RHOBACK.com. Use promo code VICE20 for 20% off your order.
Yep. My game day running buddy said the same thing about the hoodie. He said, it's my favorite. I'm wearing it all the time.
What a flex, my game day running buddy. I run on game days because I'm Brad Law and I'm super fit and I'm great.
Wow.
That was my Brad Law impersonation.
You're so salty. You're still very salty. And it's understandable. I get it.
I'm on edge still.
I know.
I'm on edge.
You could tell. I think the people like it, though. I think there's a lot of other people still on edge. I get it.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm alone for sure. A few like news and notes from what Freeze said today. Keontae Scott's hamstring is still bugging him. Freeze said that's why he didn't play as much in the second half, but did return punts. I thought that was interesting.
I did too.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's like the Robert Lewis thing in week 1. It's like, then how hurt are you? I don't know. And then we saw Cam Coleman is questionable.
Yeah.
Xavier Miller is questionable. Freeze did add that Coleman will be more likely to play on Saturday than Miller. And so then you'll probably move D-Wade to one of the tackle spots. He mentioned possibly Tate Johnson at guard, and then the other tackle will either be Tyler Johnson or Xavier Miller. So
or Percy Lewis.
Percy Lewis, excuse me.
Tyler.
Yeah, Percy. Yeah. So
to me, it makes the most sense. Either Tate or Braden Joyner, he mentioned him too, at guard.
Okay.
And I think you got to put the guy with more experience there on the left side. You have to put him at left tackle.
Yeah, which is Dylan Wade. He played there all last year. It makes sense.
Right.
It makes sense. And then, I mean, I'd like to see Percy there. Yeah. Percy looks more like a right tackle than a left tackle to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And just because of his size. And so I kind of wonder if that could be something that maybe unlocks, a better fit for him. I don't know what you do with Too Tall in that situation, but
well, we also don't know how long Too Tall is out. It's not season ending, but
it sounded like it wasn't going to be a 1 week thing the way Freeze was talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So like those are kind of the biggest things for me that are, what else did he say today that we left out in your mind that we need to touch on?
I think that's it. I mean,
didn't you ask a question? What did you ask?
I asked about the North End Zone project and what that meant for the future. And
got it.
I do think it's important. Like, and somebody else asked what I thought was a great question about balancing year 2 expectation. You don't give away any season. You don't give away any game. It's important to win as often as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But there is so much look to the future with the North End Zone and the 25 and the 26 class, and your talent's not where you want it to be because you haven't stacked the classes year after year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got a group that still wants to win now and can win games now, and a fan base who wants you to win now in year 2. And so how do you balance that? I thought that was a really good question. But he talked about his friendship. The question I asked, he talked about his friendship with the couple that made the largest donation like in the history of Auburn athletics. And, he and his wife have developed friendship with them. And so we talked about that a little bit today. I thought that was kind of important to get out there and he's
a relationships guy. I mean, there's no question. There's no question about that.
Well, and it's okay to continue to choose occasionally, even in the midst of a time when you're disappointed. It's all right. What are the positive things we can choose to think about and talk about? That's okay. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're ignoring the negative. And so that's, that we got his comment on that today.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
I know what. I know
Yep.
there's a lot of conversation going on at thebarnauburn.com.
No
Press
question.
conference reactions, still a lot of stuff from Saturday. And this is a great time to be a part of what's happening at thebarnauburn.com.
Yeah, thebarnauburn.com. You can sign up for your first month for just $1. For just $1. Kyle is dropping recruiting nuggets like crazy. There's a Deuce Night update for Sunday night that he posted about. There's one I'm looking at right now. One of our moderators posted a Babalola update 3 hours ago. So be sure to check all that out. Thebarnauburn.com. Brad, I think that about does it for today's show.
It does. Thanks everybody for watching, commenting, subscribing. We appreciate it very, very much. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.